How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Halloween Resurrection, the direct sequel to H2O. Sadly, they didn't go with the title H2O2. I guess that would be just long and confusing. Anyway, this movie is from 2002 and is directed by Rick Rosenthal, who is the same guy that directed the original Halloween 2, so that's a pretty cool pull. This movie stars Bianca Kajlich, sorry if I mispronounced that, but also Busta Rhymes, as well as an early appearance from Katee Sackhoff. We also get a cameo from Jamie Lee Curtis. Sadly, can't really call it more than an extended cameo. Really wish she was in this movie more. And I guess, just getting right into it, this is the Halloween that's often considered the worst one. Some people will say Halloween 6, and then some people that really hate the zombie movies will argue for one of those. But I think it's pretty clearly Resurrection that's the worst one. It's not great, but I do want to say, even though it's bad, there is a certain level of dumb fun that can be had here. Good to put on a silly slasher movie and, yeah, kind of watch ironically and laugh at the goofier moments, so there is some value and it doesn't get boring, and I think that is a big thing, is, you know, having a boring movie is the worst thing, and with this one, even though it's stupid, stuff does happen and it keeps you entertained, but it's really not great. And among the reasons why it's not great, it really is trying way too hard to be cool. You know, that's the quickest way to not be cool, is to try to be cool, and you can really see everything they're doing and trying to get attention and to, you know, be like, hey kids, we're the new Halloween, this is what you like, right? We have appearances from pop stars. Here's Busta Rhymes. You like the Blair Witch Project, here's a bit of found footage with people not knowing if it's real or not. And hey, computers, right? You guys like computers, let's put in some computers for this movie. And yeah, the desperation is really easy to see in this one. And I think also, you know, this is 2002, but you're coming off that 90s cool idea. People in the 90s wanted to be 90s cool, and this is them trying way too hard to be 90s cool, but in addition to them failing at it, it's also 2002. The early 2000s were the dark and the serious movies. They were kind of more edgy, you know? And yeah, time had moved on, and you're poorly doing something that people don't really care about. But that being said, this is the movie where Busta Rhymes does kung fu. There's a bunch of stupid moments, and, you know, there is some enjoyment to it. And overall, I could see this movie as being the Halloween equivalent of Texas Chainsaw 3D. However, sadly, it's hard to enjoy this because of the movie's opening and H2O. So the whole H2O thing, we're coming off of one of the more better respected sequels. A lot of people really liked H2O. It was a pretty good movie. Not my personal favorite, but a really good one. So we're coming off that high, and then we get this movie. So you're going from a really good movie to a cheesy, stupid, bad movie. That's not gonna win a lot of people over, and a lot of people who were impressed with the last one are gonna feel doubly bad at this. If H2O never existed and this was just Halloween 7, people could have an ironically good time a lot easier with this. But it's not just the quality gap. The way this movie addresses the ending of H2O and what it does with Laurie Strode is just really not great. So in addition to the quality drop, it really disrespects H2O right at the beginning, and then again, with the way H2O ends, you kind of have to come up with something, but anything you do is just gonna mess up that perfect ending that H2O had. So yeah, you're kind of screwed either way. Overall, yeah, for an ironic, dumb fun B-movie horror slasher night, there's a lot to like here for that in an ironic sense. But the movie overall isn't really that great. What it does to H2O and how hard it tries to be cool and totally isn't, and just so much of that. Oh man, you know, a lot of you guys, if you're younger, maybe you don't remember the early 2000s. It wasn't a great time, and this movie kind of serves as a time capsule to some of those moments. I mean, gee, looking back at those old computers, it's yeah. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk a bit about the plot in order to analyze this movie. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the episode's about. So without further ado, to the plot. We open up 3 years later, and Laurie Strode is in an insane asylum. Spoiler for the last movie, H2O, but at the end of H2O, Laurie Strode cut Michael Myers' head off. But the thing is, in this movie, it's revealed that that wasn't Michael Myers. Laurie Strode cut the head off of a random paramedic. What's with random paramedics ruining slasher movies? I don't know. Anyway, it turns out Michael Myers got up, attacked a random paramedic, crushed his voice box, and switched clothes with him. So he pulled a swap there, and the person that got loaded into the ambulance was this random paramedic who couldn't talk, and Laurie just happened to kill the wrong person, which is why he touched his face like, what am I, wearing a mask? You think he could have done better in this situation, but whatever. But yeah, it is actually in the end of H2O that he touches his face, because they did actually shoot this with the rest of H2O. You see, Mustafa Akkad said, hey, you can't definitively kill Michael Myers without coming up with some way for him to survive whatever you put him through in case we get to do a sequel. Which, yeah, I guess that makes sense. You know, if you're gonna put Michael Myers somewhere, figure out how the next guys can get him out. And I do have to say, it is at least a plausible comeback for a decapitation. Like, for real, what were they going to do? He's not gonna just grow his head back or maybe find out he had an evil twin brother or something. How do you write your way around a decapitation? And I feel like this explanation is as plausible as any. But the thing is, the ending of H2O was a really great ending, and it was good that Michael Myers died. So yeah, it's a plausible rewrite around. What else are you gonna come up with? But it's still a rewrite around, and yeah, it just retroactively makes the ending of H2O worse. So yeah, it's plausible, but it's still not good, but I don't know what else they would have done. But another thing, it's not just that. You see, Michael Myers is, of course, going to visit this asylum and try to kill Laurie Strode 3 years later. I don't know why 3 years later. You think he would just do it the next year, but whatever. Michael Myers is gonna try to kill Laurie Strode, but she rigs up a booby trap with the hospital's rooftop crane? Okay, so she gets Michael Myers in the booby trap. He's hanging over the ledge of the building, and she's about to drop him to his death when Michael Myers starts mimicking the paramedic's facial hand movements, touching his mask, and making Laurie think maybe it's not really Michael Myers under that mask. However, Michael Myers wasn't there at the end of H2O. How did he know the paramedic did this gesture? I don't know. Anyway, Laurie goes, okay, I have him, I could just kill him, but I need to see his face to know that that's really him. When she goes to reach and try to pull the mask off, she's gonna get pulled off the roof by Michael Myers and get stabbed and fall to her death. And just like that, not only do you have the hero of the last movie dying in a really disappointing way, but it's also one of the biggest final girls of all time dying in a really disappointing way for the second time. So you see why fans immediately got ticked off. And to be fair, the whole falling to your death thing, part of me wonders, that really does feel like a comic book death. Like, how many times has the Joker fallen off a building only to come back later? I think that there may have been a plan, like if Halloween Resurrection did really well, to do a sequel to it and bring Laurie back as, you know, some kind of Michael Myers hunter. It just my personal speculation, but I always felt falling off of a building was never a super definitive death unless they show the body. But anyway, that is the big thing. That is the Alien 3 moment, as I call it. You see, first impressions are important. It's this thing where a lot of really great horror movies also have really great opening scenes, and you can do a lot within first impression. Have a good opening, people will be hooked, people will remember the movie better. Have a bad opening, get the audience a bad taste in their mouth right away. Even if the movie after that was somehow really good, people aren't going to enjoy it with an initial bad taste, and that really is what we have here. Just like the beginning of Alien 3, just like the beginning of Terminator Dark Fate, Halloween Resurrection ticks you off early, and whatever fun there is to be had in the rest of the movie is really hard to have because you're upset. So that's that. Anyway, Dangertainment. Yeah, the whole rest of this movie is unrelated to any of that H2O stuff. Dangertainment Time, which is a stupid company name, but basically Busta Rhymes wants to host an internet live stream on Halloween night inside the Michael Myers house. Get a bunch of random people, send them in there with cameras, maybe they'll find something spooky. Which, to be fair, we would see things like this more and more later on as the technology gets better. So it was kind of right, but at the same time, boy, looking at all this old technology, you know, it's a real blast from the past. But in addition to the technology, I do have to say, a lot of the technology in this movie, and it's everywhere, so much computers, a lot of it is either super out of date because this movie is 20 years old. It's either super out of date or it's hilariously inaccurate. She sends text messages through some chat room, and whenever they type back and forth, it sends the individual letters as they're typing instead of just the message all at once. Ah, man, that's bad. But anyway, a live stream in the Michael Myers house, and we get this main girl who has a couple of her friends. They all entered to be in this thing. They're all friends from their local college, and they all get picked. Now, I know it's ridiculous to complain about, you know, like, when they literally just messed up H2O a minute ago. It might be ridiculous to complain about this, but one thing that really gets me with this movie is the sheer unlikelihood that this would happen. You're telling me that this is a big nationwide contest, a select group of people would get to go in the Michael Myers house, and yet 3 of them all came from the exact same school and all knew each other? Can you tell me how statistically unlikely that is? Yeah, I know this movie does worse stuff, but I don't like statistical unlikelihoods. Anyway, Dangertainment sets up the haunted house, and of course, the real Michael Myers shows up, but it's hard to tell that he's really there because they rig up so many other fake things, including Busta Rhymes dressing up as Myers himself, so even when he's there, it takes them a minute to notice, and yeah, there's a bunch of creepy stuff suggesting at the origin of Michael Myers, but it's all put there by the show, so in the end, we as the real-life audience don't get any cool revelations or reveals because everything in this show is for the show and there's nothing pertaining to the real character of Michael Myers. So that's great there. Anyway, Michael Myers kills one of the guys in a reference to the movie Peeping Tom, which was one of the movies. Peeping Tom and Psycho were like the 1-2 punch that would lead to slasher movies. And there's a famous kill in that movie where the cameraman has the tripod and we see through the lens of the camera and there's a stabby, pointy end at the end of one of the tripod legs and he stabs the person with it. Michael Myers recreates this kill, but this time it's with a live streaming camera that, of course, no one notices because the lady behind the desk just happens to look away at this moment. But also, in Peeping Tom, that was his tripod, and it would make sense that he could weaponize it. Why does this random tripod that Michael Myers has just randomly have a stabby leg on the bottom? I mean, you guys are on a tripod right now, and I don't have any stabby legs. I don't know. But anyway, a Peeping Tom reference. Pros for slasher history, I guess. So the kids are gonna get in there, they're gonna get spooked by a lot of fake stuff. They're going to joke around, they're going to party, they're going to be flirtatious and in a lot of ways that don't hold up well today, especially knowing who one of this movie's producers is. But after all that goofing around, they will eventually start to get picked off, and the main girl is going to be contacting one of her online friends who's watching the live stream, and they're going to give her some advice. You know how the last one was executive produced by Kevin Williamson, who sadly I don't think was involved in this one? They try to do that Scream humor by having a lot of people at a Halloween party watching the stream and then yelling at the stream like people would yell at a slasher movie. It's okay, it's not super hilarious, and at the end of the day they're like, look, she's getting help from people through the stream, but what they're saying isn't really super helpful. They help a little bit, but really you could write them out of this movie pretty easy, and part of me wonders if they were wrote into this movie at the last minute, just a theory, don't know. But anyway, she has internet friends who are going to help her as Michael Myers comes after her. And I guess I should get into a few specifics. The found footage thing, popular for the time. It's not the whole movie, but pieces of it. And it does a few things. First of all, it's really low res, which is accurate, but I hate it. I don't like how low res these cameras are. Accurate, I still hate it. And also, yeah, the whole computers are cool. Again, a lot of this is either super out of date or super inaccurate. But also, one thing that really bugs me with found footage movies is happenstantial perfect framing. You know, a character dies or drops the camera, and it just so happens to point at the exact thing it needs to. Yeah, that's there as well. And also, a big thing with this movie, the characters. The characters are super, super flat in this movie. Like the final girl, who even is she? She's just some girl, and most of her personality is, I want to be responsible, and I have an internet friend. And then you get like her best friend in real life is the chef character, and in turn, that's his one character trait, and he's going to just constantly be talking about food the whole time. Yeah, that's how characters work. So he'll say things like, oh, Michael Myers probably killed people because of a bad diet, or, oh, we're in the Myers house, let me see the kitchen, you know, because he's a chef, that's what he does, that's his only character and personality trait. And so many people in this movie are just wooden. And I guess we should also get to Busta Rhymes too, who really isn't that great in this movie. They try to do this arc with him about the media, and it's either like it really goes from spelling it out way too much or being really unclear as to what they're going for, but the media, you know? And then of course it all ends with kung fu fighting, which, yeah, that could be kind of dumb fun. That is a really silly element of this movie, so if you are watching it ironically, there is that. But in addition to, I guess, say the dumb fun stuff, the kills aren't that great, you know, and I wish if this really was a big dumb fun movie, if they had a lot of more big, outrageous, over-the-top kills, it would be pretty cool. The thing is, though, they're fine. It's like, oh, hey, Michael Myers stabs someone to the door, but this time with 2 knives. Okay. Or he cuts someone's head off and it rolls down the stairs. Yeah, I guess that's fine. It's nothing too spectacular, but they are good enough and passable. But this movie would have been a lot better if we got over-the-top, ridiculous, cheesy kills. But what are you gonna do about it? And also, I guess it should also be mentioned, the Myers house continues to shapeshift throughout these movies and looks pretty different from the original, but I guess that can be expected, you know? And in the Myers house, especially because of Dangertainment, there are some cheesy haunted house stuff, and I guess that falls into the dumb fun category as well. So overall, I guess there is room to watch this ironically, and there is some fun to be had. I wish it was more extreme, so there was more of it. I feel that Texas Chainsaw 3D, you know, by the time you get to that one with the big crazy ending, I think that one did work better in a fun, over-the-top way. This one still is good enough. The thing is, 2 things: how badly it disrespects H20, and also how desperate this movie is to be cool. Both those really put the damper on what could have been a fun, cheesy slasher movie, so it really isn't that great. If you want to watch it ironically, a dumb, fun slasher to laugh at, I think there is something there, but yeah, not a super strong recommendation outside of that. It's not the worst thing ever, it's not boring, but it's most likely the worst Halloween movie. Anyway, that being said, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching, and to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Halloween franchise playlist. I've talked about all the past movies, so that's the first 6 and H20. I also talked about the first 2 Blumhouse movies, and as October goes on, I do plan to cover the Rob Zombie movies, so those should be coming pretty soon, and I also plan to cover the new Halloween Ends movie. I think that just came out, so I'm going to have to find some time to go and see it, but I really am excited for that one as well. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.